Okay, let me repeat the whole part. This is where developers are making a change. You can consider that as a commit. Whenever developer make a commit, right? We need a system which will pull the code, build it, test it, and deploy it. In this process, let's say the developers made a commit, the code will be pulled, build, right? If build pass, it would go for testing. If build failed, if there are any syntax errors or any runtime errors, any build errors, okay, it would be sent to developers. They'll again fix that, means some code change, a commit which they'll push into the system. Again, the process repeats. It will pull build till the build is successful. Once build is success, it would be deployed, right? Means continuous testing means here the test cases would be executed. Automation test cases written by testers will be executed. And if it all the test cases pass, it would go to the next level, deployment to next stage. Otherwise, it will again go to the developers, because if we see any bug, it would be reported again to developers, right? They'll fix the code, and this process keep on repeating, which is called continuous development, continuous builds, and continuous testing, right? This is called continuous integration, which is done through Jenkins server. Before we talk about the traditional integration and all, let me give you again a brief over. You all know what is continuous development. Developers are writing the code. That's all, right? They keep on working and writing the code. And what is continuous builds? What is continuous build? What is meant by build? First, what is meant by build? What is meant by building the code?
Compiling the high-level language into low-level machine understandable language, machine understandable.
Compiling and packaging the code put together is called building the code, right? Compiling is nothing but converting your source code into executable code, right? And then packaging means like there might be hundreds of files. Converting all of them into single deployable file or an artifact is called packaging. Let's say a deployable file will be ready. This is called packaging. If you take, for example, Java, developers write the source code, like it would be in the form of .java. Files will be with extension .java. When you compile, for each .java file, there will be a .class file generated, which is called compile, right? Means for every .java file, there will be a .class file generated, which is called compiling, means executable is generated. If you have 10 .java files, you will get 10 .class files when you compile it. And then all of them will be converted into single deployable file. It might be in the var format or jar format or EAR format and so on. Jar it is, okay? That's the typo. Okay, so it is in this format. If you remember, we have deployed a var file, right? A sample var file on Tomcat. Okay, that's what is compiling and packaging. Both these put together is called building the code. I gave an example with Java code. So all of this will be done via the pipeline. Of course, there will be some build automation tools used at the backend to build the code. And the continuous testing means test case will be executed where they'll be using some test automation tool. Test cases may be written in any language or using any automation test tool. So those test cases will be executed here in the pipeline, right? So this process keep on repeating till the application is defect free or bug free, until the application is deployed and tested in all the environments, like first to lower level and then to the higher level, like then it goes to the production. So this is what happens, and this is the CI/CD flow. So to implement this CI/CD pipeline, we have something called Jenkins. Jenkins is a tool which can help you implement this CI/CD pipeline end to end, right? So before talking about Jenkins in more detail, let me talk about the traditional integration also. Have you ever worked in the traditional integration process? We understood continuous integration, but what is the traditional integration then? Have you ever worked into traditional integration process? Of course, that was old methodology, but yeah, let me also talk about that so that you can really appreciate the importance of continuous integration. See, continuous integration is the process of automating the build and test process each time a commit is done. Means whenever there is a commit happened by developers, that will be pulled, build, execute the test case on it, and this process keep on repeating, which is called continuous integration, right? And you can compare this continuous integration with traditional integration. See here, this is the traditional integration graph. In traditional integration means it's not automated process. There'll be a manual, that will be a manual process where there will be a separate integration team who will integrate the code into the existing system manually. And this happens once in a while, maybe once in 6 months or so. That would be definitely a challenging task where the developer lead will be involved. A separate integration team would sit and integrate all the code done during the 6 months. If this is the way we are integrating, there would be so many challenges because there might be so many bugs coming up in the code which is done during the 6 months. Of course, runtime errors, syntax errors during the build process, have to fix all of them, have to merge it. It takes a lot of time. And the integration events like once in a while, maybe once in 6 months or so, this would be very much challenging. Even though integration is successful and working code is working on integration servers, it might not be working on other servers later. So definitely that would be a nightmare. Teams have to spend some sleepless nights to do this, right? That's how it is before Jenkins or before the process of continuous integration. But once continuous integration came in, see that integration happens multiple times in a day as well. Means every commit is being integrated into the system and tested. Means you can expect qualitative products, isn't it? Every change is going through the process. That's what is continuous integration. So yeah, there would be so many multiple integration events, right? So every change is going through the process. We can expect quality process. Also, it doesn't take too long for integration because every day this is happening. Every small change is integrated then and there. So issues can be identified immediately. They can be fixed. See, when issue is identified immediately, when I have an issue on the code or on the things we have done yesterday, it could be very easy to fix it rather than fixing them after 6 months, isn't it? So it's very effective, cost-wise, cost-effective, also time-effective. It can be very fast and it reduces all the manual errors. So definitely this is the approach which is having a lot of importance nowadays. Now we are not going through this traditional integration process. Hope you got the difference. Yes? So yeah. Integration events are less and time gap between them is large. In the traditional integration process, integration happens manually once in a while. Errors due to manual integration, time and effort consuming process. It's a time and effort consuming process. Benefits of CA. Like what are the advantages of it? Improves quality of the product. It increases the productivity and reduces the risk of human errors. Right? Obviously, the reasons that I just explained. And rather than working and fixing on these issues, developers or teams can work on the productive tasks. And deployments could be faster. Reduce the risk of human errors because we are automating the whole process. Any questions in this? And there were so many other continuous integration tools like Jenkins, CodeShape, Bamboo, TeamCity, Travis CI, and so on. Many are there. And you can see this.
All are advantages compared to traditional methodology. Don't we have any disadvantages?
Disadvantage, we don't have any disadvantages, right? That's obviously advantage. Only thing is the automation process, resources, and we need to have the resources who can automate this process. That would be, other than that, there are no drawbacks or challenges of this continuous integration. Only the thing is designing the pipeline, designing the CI process. Okay. And this is the graph of Jenkins in comparison with other tools. This is from a couple of years back. You can also check the latest graph. Jenkins is clearly the winner in this category because of the features it has got, because of the flexibility it offers. Okay, once we start working, you will see all of that. But yeah, Jenkins is the market leader in the category, which we'll be learning. And yeah, now that we understood what is CI and features of CI, let's talk about like why Jenkins, or why it has got so famous or popular. It's an open source tool initially. Jenkins is actually a Java based application, right? It is developed actually in Java. It's an open source. It provides good plugin support. Plugins are like add-ons for Jenkins. They'll enhance or they'll help you extend the functionality of Jenkins. Means, let's suppose I need a feature in Jenkins. You can use some plugin, install the plugin, and you should be able to utilize the feature, right? So it's a plugin based tool. Plugins help you extend the functionality of your Jenkins, and it has got good community support. Obviously, it's a Java based application. Java, we have a huge, vast community. Same is the case here. And since it's a Java application, it works on multiple operating systems like Windows, Linux, Mac, and so on. And it's very easy to set up and upgrade Jenkins. Distributed team management also possible. What is this? We'll see. In short, I can say, let's suppose as a five DevOps team, which person should access what? All of this control will have in Jenkins, right? And like I said, Jenkins is Java-based application and it has got a great UI. It is all user interface. I mean, like a GUI. You have got a good GUI where you can work with all the pipelines. And it is developed in Java. That's all. It doesn't mean that it works only for Java applications. Okay, you can create CI pipelines, CI/CD for any applications, right? So that's a few things about Jenkins. And like I said, we implement continuous development, continuous testing, continuous builds, continuous testing, continuous deployment, everything via Jenkins, right? How do you do that? Jenkins is like an orchestrator, right? Like orchestrator in a music band. Like if you see in a music band, the orchestrator waves his band. That's all. He doesn't play any music instrument, right? Same is the case here. When I say it does all of this, it doesn't mean that Jenkins is building, Jenkins is testing. It is using the tools at the back end. Like if you want continuous build, you will be creating a job. There'll be job in Jenkins, job or task, which does the actual action, right? So this will create a job which uses some build automation tool like Maven at the back end to build the code. And you'll create another test job, where you will be running some test cases written in Selenium via this job. So it is nothing but an orchestrator where you will create the jobs and you will configure such a way that it will use some tools at the backend to perform the right task at the right time. Am I making sense?
So Maven also it will be open source, right? Maven tool is also
Yes.
based on.
Yeah. See here, when I say continuous development, continuous testing and all, yes, we are doing all of them via Jenkins. It doesn't mean Jenkins is deploying, Jenkins is testing. We will use the different tools, okay? In this pipeline means we'll integrate Jenkins with all of these tools so that it can work with these tools and perform the actions, whatever actions you want. Right? Like see, first let's suppose I'll create a job in Jenkins. This job will do continuous builds. Means at the back end I'll configure Maven. I'll create one more job which will do testing. Means which will run the Selenium test cases written by testers. Okay. And I'll create a job for, let's say, containerization. Okay. Which comes under deployment part or build part. So here again we'll be using Docker right at the backend. Similarly, we want to deploy it on a Kubernetes cluster, Kubernetes integration. Then we'll create another job where Terraform will provision the infrastructure via Jenkins. So this is how you have different jobs in Jenkins. We have to create the jobs and configure them in such a way that they will use these tools at the backend. It's going to be really interesting. I can say Jenkins will be very easy. You don't need to do much on CLI. Majority of the things we'll be doing from the user interface only. It will be very easy to learn and use. Everyone should know Jenkins. Even though you want to continue your career as a developer or tester, still you need to know Jenkins. Okay, so DevOps people obviously should know it. So everyone should learn Jenkins. It's very simple. You have to understand it properly. That's all. So yeah, that's a brief or some intro to Jenkins. Now we can get started with setting up Jenkins first.
So, sorry, here, so continuous development. So, you didn't write which tool you normally people
Continuous
will.
development means developers will write the code and push the code into version control system. That is referred as continuous development. DevOps persons or the pipeline doesn't do continuous development. Continuous development is nothing but developers are writing the code and pushing the code into the version control system continuously, right? So the code may be written in Java or PHP or Python or C Sharp or whatever it is. And they may be pushing the code again into some version control systems, like some remote repos like GitHub or Bitbucket, whatever it is. Got it? That's called
Yeah,
continuous.
but like in a normal other projects, like whoever the development did it, they will execute that code or report or whatever. They will check the how the data is coming, right? But here, continuous build means executable plus packaging. That means transports. So who is going to execute, like the developer or like Jenkins will execute their code? And if Jenkins is executed, if there is error in the code, then how they will be notified developers?
We will discuss them, Abdul. Okay, let's get started with those jobs and we'll discuss them. Okay, in detail, like who will do that, how to do that. Right?
And what for developer should know the Jenkins?
Sorry?
I mean, what for developer should know the Jenkins tool? They won't be dealing with Jenkins, right?
Why? See, without DevOps also developers use Jenkins. There is a continuous testing phase, right? There might be unit test case which can be executed, Selenium test case which can be executed. Actually, continuous build process will be handled by developers in general. When they were automating it in the Jenkins, definitely they should know it, right? Before DevOps came in, also Jenkins was there. Testers and developers were using it to build and execute the test cases. And the later part comes in with DevOps, like the continuous deployment, monitoring, and so on.
Okay, this means both the developer and tester should know the Jenkins. Am I right?
Everyone should know Jenkins. The reason being, like I said, Jenkins been used before also. And now I am saying everyone should know Jenkins because test cases were written by testers only. They were automated via Jenkins. So if some problem comes in, we'll send the reports to them. They should look into it, right? They should know how those are executed via Jenkins. So
Okay.
everyone should learn Jenkins.
Okay, one last question, please. Then what is the role of DevOps engineer in this
See,
entire process?
this depends on project to project. In some companies, developers may be looking into that part of build phase. Then testers might be looking into the part of test phase. Then DevOps team will be looking after the next stages, after which comes after testing, like deployment, containerizing, and all. This is implemented in certain projects. In some other projects, developers will not be involved in this. Testers will not be involved. Only DevOps team will be looking after build process, test process as well. Test process as well in sense, testers will give you the test cases. That pipeline, automating them in the pipeline will be taken care by DevOps team. It could be either ways. Different strategies were implemented in different projects and organizations. So everyone should be knowing it as you may be working at any stage in the pipeline.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Now let us set up Jenkins. Let us install Jenkins. Jenkins setup is very simple. Like I said, it works on multiple operating systems. You can install on your Windows also, in your laptop as well. Like here, I'm going to do it on a Linux machine. Let us have a Linux server. By now, we know how to create an EC2 instance, right? So let's go and create another. I mean, you can use the same EC2 instance. Okay. I think I have created this in Mumbai region. One second. Yeah,
Sorry,
this is
Pritika.
the one.
I have one question.
Hmm?
Can we install Jenkins on RHEL 8 later version of RHEL?
You can on any Linux machine. It works on Linux means RHEL means Red Hat distribution. You can.
Okay.
So you can use the same Linux instance you have created a couple of days back. You can use the same, just start it. Once it is started, let's connect to it. Okay, this is the server which we use for Linux, right? So this is where I'm going to install Jenkins. To install anything, you need to be a root user. So I became root user. So now let us install Jenkins. And before you install Jenkins, Java is a prerequisite for Jenkins. Jenkins is a Java-based application, right? So Java should be installed. Let's check if we have Java. Yes, Java is already there on your system. Okay. You may check like you can also install it again, but if you want to see what are all the Javas installed, alternatives config Java. See, you don't need to learn Java for this. Just I'm showing you like how to install Java. See, it was showing some Java version 17. Okay, some version is there, let it be. Now let us install Jenkins. Okay, to install Jenkins, like I said, don't save the links and all. Remember the process. Install or download Jenkins. You will be taken to the official website always, jenkins.io. Let me put download Jenkins. Okay. Here you will see Jenkins download and deployment official website, jenkins.io. Here if you scroll down, you will see different environments. Like I said, Jenkins works on multiple operating systems, right? So choose the one related to you. Mine is Red Hat CentOS based system because it's a Amazon Linux too, right? So I should go for it. If you don't know the distribution, how do you know the distribution of your Linux?
/etc/os-release.
Yeah, we have seen this in the last class I have shown you, right? Some classes in some previous session. etc OS release. This file will show you which type of instance. It's Amazon Linux, so it is of CentOS, Red Hat, Fedora based. So I would go this. If it is your Ubuntu machine, you should go for it. So depending on your system, you should choose here. So mine is this one. Here it provides you with all the URLs. First, this is to download the Jenkins repository. Do you remember I told you HCM repositories folder I have shown you? Do you remember this?
Yes.
Here there will be repository files, EM repository files configured. Right? Similarly, like they were creating, what this command does is wget will download the file. Right? It is downloading from this, means it's downloading the repository file from here and placing it in the folder. -o means output into this folder as Jenkins repo. So a file called Jenkins repo will be created. Right now, if you see here, see Jenkins repository file is created, means from where we have to install or download Jenkins. This is the repository URL. Okay, also download the key. Every step is here, just execute them. Okay. And also it was asking us to install Java 11. Maybe this was the compatible with the version of Jenkins we were installing. But on our system, which Java is there? We have seen some time back. See,
17.
Java 17. It was asking us to install Java 11. Yes, better we go with it, right? Which should be compatible with the Jenkins version we are installing. So install this. You can have multiple Javas, multiple installations. So it is installed. No, it was asking to use this command, right? Because it's on Amazon Linux machine, it was asking us to use this. Let's do that. So it was saying installing Java 11. Confirm with yes. It says it's complete. It is installed. To make sure, if you want to check what are all, you can do again this command alternatives config Java, which will show all the Java installations in your system. See, there were two actually. Earlier, this is the one default one, and this is the one we installed. And here asterisk indicates it was using this as a default. I want this to use it. You may change the number to 2. So that would be used for your Jenkins or any other apps. Now, yes, Java is configured. We have installed we have downloaded Jenkins repository file. Now let us install Jenkins with the command install Jenkins. Confirm.
Preeti, are you going to teach how to install Jenkins on Docker too?
How to install Jenkins on which tool?
Using Docker.
Yes.
Okay.
And
So,
can you also please show on the like in laptop, ordinary PC, the bare metal PC or ordinary PC rather than this EC2 instance?
bare metal, how do we get the bare metal servers?
I'm sorry. We can install Jenkins in our PC, right?
In your laptop, you can install. Jenkins works on multiple operating systems. Here it is.
Yeah.
See, here are the things. If you want to do it on your Windows machine, you should click this. Go through this. It has already downloaded the exe. If download has not started, see, it has started already. Run the exe. Steps were there, right? You can follow this and do it. Installation is not a great thing you need to work on or you need to practice. You install on one server, practice it. Later on, you can try out other options. Okay. I'm doing it on Linux because I want to integrate with other tools as we go by, which is supported on Linux. So this is what you have to do.
Okay. And I'm sorry to ask multiple questions because
No
this is my first
problem.
class. This is my first class.
Okay.
And if possible, can you please show how to install the Java? You install the Java 17 version, right?
Java 17, I did not install. It comes by default for these Amazon EC2 instances.
Okay.
We did not install it.
Okay, so it comes automatically with this instance. Okay.
Yeah, it may come, it may, for with this EC2 instance, it came up. If you choose a different EC2 instance, it may not. In that case, you don't need to have it. We install anyway Java, right? With the steps available there. So
Okay,
it's
so
not that it should be there by default.
Okay, so if you install Java 11, and that will take care of Java requirement.
Yes, you don't need to have Java before. Anyway, it is there also. I have configured it to this path, right? Like to the latest path.
Okay.
All these steps will be there in the drive, like whatever I am using here. I'm just giving a quick walkthrough. Alternatives config will show all the Java installations you have. Like you can have multiple installations of your Java. And this is to check your distribution of Linux if you are not sure. Then downloading Jenkins repository file, then importing the key, and then installing Jenkins. These are the steps. Jenkins is installed fine, but is it running? Use systemctl status Jenkins. This thing we have seen to check the status. This is the command to check the status. It's not running. Let's start. Systemctl start Jenkins. Once it is started, we can see the port and so on. And meanwhile, it begins. Like, how do you see the port or where it is running and how to change the port? We have discussed these things, right? Like for HTTPD or Tomcat.
You can use the netstat-tulpn.
Yeah. Meanwhile, it starts. Let me get into another tab. And here, there is a file called hc system. hc system config. Oh, I'm trying to. Right, that's a file under hc-sysconfig. There is a file called Jenkins. Here are the configurations you can see. Meanwhile, yes, before I show that, it just came up. Let me check the status. Yes, it was running and the process ID is 68999. So netstat -lntup. I want to grab only this process ID 6899. So it was running on port 8080. So you should hit the port 8080 of the server to see Jenkins. But before that, how do you see or where do you see those ports? See, this is a file, default file created when you install Jenkins. And here is everything configured. See, this is the Jenkins port. Jenkins port environment variable, which was set to 88. If you want, you change it and restart your Jenkins. It should be on whatever port you need. And also there is something called Jenkins home. Where live Jenkins? That's a default path of Jenkins home. Even if you want to change it, you can put whatever path you want. Otherwise, that's a default path. Where live Jenkins. Okay, this is where all the Jenkins configurations data would be present. This is called as Jenkins home directory. Remember this terminology. Okay, this is called Jenkins home directory, where all the Jenkins information data will be stored. This is very important. If you want to change it, this is where you have to change. Right? Port number. Port number changing I have shown you for other services. Same way. Change the port number and restart. Okay. So these are few things. Anyway, our Jenkins is running. Let's try to access Jenkins. Jenkins is a browser-based application. It runs on a browser. It has got a great GUI. So let us access it from our Windows browser. Like get the IP address. Hit that on which port?
8080.
8080, where Jenkins should be working. But it will not come up. What should we do? Security rules. Yeah, security rules. See, 8080 is not there. So let us go and edit the security rules. Edit the inbound rules. Anyway, 8081 we are not using. Let me do it. Yeah, save it. Once you add the port in the inbound rules, it should be coming up. Yes. Do you see that? This is our Jenkins. And for the first time, it will be locked. You have to unlock it. This is only one-time task. Only for the first time of launching, it will be locked. You have to unlock. And if you see the unlock password is here. And what is this? Varlib Jenkins. What is this Varlib Jenkins? What is that called as?
Home directory.
Jenkins home directory. So your password is in this Jenkins home directory. Like I was showing. Yes, this is your home directory. And it was saying file is here. Cat that file. Actually, where is it? See, again, it is inside secrets. You may go directly there or else you can also check this. This is the file which has got the password. You go there and write the path or else you may use the absolute path from anywhere to fetch the password. So this is the password it was giving. So it will be unlocked with this initial admin password. Okay, fine, done. We were able to log in. Then it was asking to install Jenkins. Some time back we were talking about it, right? Jenkins is a Java-based, Jenkins works with the plugins, right? Plugins are like add-ons which will enhance and extend the functionality of Jenkins. So you can install some suggested plugins, means most widely used plugins, or else you can choose which plugin you need and you can install it. This is also again only for the first time. You may go with suggested plugins. Later on, if you want any plugins, you can install after login also. Okay, but before login, this is for the first time, it will ask you to install some plugins. See here, Ant plugin, GitHub plugin, SH plugin, so many plugins. It may take a while depending on your network, depending on your bandwidth. So once these are installed, we can log in. Like I said, after login also we can install it if we need.
For installing plugin afterwards, do we need reboot or something like that?
We need to label.
Reboot or restarting Jenkins
Not
service.
required. Not required. It's not asking, right? It's installing. After login, you may install plugins. There also certain plugins doesn't need restart. Some plugins may need which maybe there which need restart. It will show you whether you should restart or you can proceed.
Depending on the case.
Sorry? Are
I
you
got
saying
it.
something? Installation failed. Some plugins failed to you. You may retry installing them or continue without failed plugins. For some reasons, it was failing. Some of them passed. I suspect one thing. Let me know one thing. Systemctl stop Jenkins. Okay, I'm stopping it. I'll tell you the reason. Actually, that is not the case, but I'm just suspecting it might be the case. I stopped it and here I believe Java 17 should be used with the latest version of Jenkins. But anyway, it has given us to install Java 11 only. So it should not be the case. But still, to rule out the thing, I just want to try with Java 7 because I faced this issue earlier because of the Java version. So yeah, because I stopped, it will show. So I'm just making it 2. Okay, I would like to restart Jenkins. Start now. Sorry, I made again 2, right? One second. It should be 1. I'm making Java 17. Okay, I made 1 only. Then why is the selection number 2? Star is on 1, means it should be 1 only. But just let me make it. Okay. Okay. Now, let's start. It's saying it is started. Let's see the status. Okay. Again, the initial password. Ratio. It might take a while. Let it install. So like I said, these are the default or more widely used plugins. Even though they fail here, it will not be a problem. You can log in and you can later on also install. But let's go with the default ones because we definitely need few plugins. So better we install the default ones before we log in. It started, let's wait. So before, meanwhile, they get installed. Any other questions from anyone? It may take a couple of minutes, maybe 2 to 3 minutes.
So all these steps are available in the Google Drive, right?
Yes, they were available. Again, they were failing.
I think they mentioned Java 11 and we are using Java 17.
Initially, before we install Java 11 only, right? Actually, for Jenkins, any version of Java should be fine. But for the latest versions of Jenkins, you can go with the suggested ones. It should work. But then also we got the plugins failed. Maybe it could be bandwidth issue also, network issue, low bandwidth where it cannot pull the plugins. Let it be whatever install, that's fine. We'll proceed to the next step. What if we need any other plugins, we could install after login also, like I said.
So, madam, during the interview, mostly the who are taking the interview, they focus on mostly on Jenkins questions, or which tool they focus on more.
Can you come again? I lost you.
No, during the interview, the interview will focus on more, and they will expect more on Jenkins tools or all the tools they expect knowledge or experience.
Depending on their requirement, depending on the job description, role they were looking for. They might be looking for the person with CI/CD experience. If they want to focus on more on CI/CD pipeline part, they might be asking more on Jenkins, or else they might be looking for infrastructure setup with Terraform. They might be asking more on Terraform. It all depends. So you have to read the job description and understand the role to understand on which areas they are expecting expertise on.
Okay, thank you. Other question is, in the YouTube we have the videos. Those videos we will have access for lifetime, only for during the
For
1 year,
lifetime.
for lifetime, right? Okay.
This was network issue only. Generally, plugins will be installed in 1 minute, not more than that. Have anyone tried installing it? Okay, so done. Whatever plugins are installed, that's enough. So it will ask for the creation of some admin user. Let's create the user. Give some username. You can give your name or whatever is fine. I'm giving the username as admin. Save and continue. And save and finish. This is the Jenkins URL. Start using Jenkins. Right, see, this is your dashboard or welcome page of your Jenkins. For the first time when you log in, this is how it looks like. Right, before going and creating the jobs or before going and creating the CI/CD pipelines and all, first let's get an understanding on the basic concept of job in Jenkins. See, till now we were talking about there were some jobs in Jenkins you should create, right? So let's talk about the concept of job. Here you are seeing new item, right? New item is nothing but a job, or else job, create a job. Means this job is called as an item or a job or a project. These words are used interchangeably in Jenkins. So you may hit this. See, because of those plugins missing, we are seeing only few job types. That's okay. We can install later. So let me create a job here called job 1. A sample job. Okay, choose the freestyle type. Freestyle is more flexible enough where you can see the actual functionality of job, what a job is. So create a job. Right, see, when you create a job, you see so many sections: general, source code management, triggers, and so on. We'll deal with each of these sections. For now, just go to build section. Here you will see something like execute shell. Like I want to execute some shell command. Okay. So some simple echo command which will print output. A simple shell command I have written and I save the job. So this is a job. Job is nothing but which does some task. Here it does some shell script execution. Like that you may have some task, some job which will do testing or which will build your code and so on. For now, it will just execute some shell. To run the job, this is the step. Build now. Build now means it's not building the code which we discussed. It's building the job means running the job. So you can run the job any number of times. As it's the first time it was showing build number 1 and it's printing the output. If you want to rerun it, build again. This is another importance of job. You don't need to do every time. Like you once save it, you can run it any number of times. Okay, this is the basic concept of a job. Now that we created a simple and a sample job, we need to understand few things here. First thing is, where is this command executing? On which machine this command is being executed?
On the Jenkins controller.
On the Jenkins server means on this EC2 instance, right? Jenkins server is this EC2 instance, right? This is the machine where it is running. Okay, that is one thing you need to understand. It's running on the same server where Jenkins is installed. Second thing, who or which program is executing this command or which tool is executing this command, this shell command?
Linux.
That's all. This command is being executed by the shell program on the server. It's not that it's being executed by it's not executed by Jenkins or it's not executed by some Java tool. No, it is being executed by the shell program on this Jenkins server. It is same as how you run echo commands here. The same is the case, right? So shell program is executing here. Means the point to note here is Jenkins is not executing the commands for you. Jenkins is just helping you start the job. See, I logged as an admin user. Jenkins will help you start it by user admin. It will help you start the job. It will help you manage the job. That's all. But the actual job is done by the tool at the backend. Here, it is shell program. Right? It is same as if you run some shell command here. Who is executing, like how is this command executed? By the shell program on the server, bin bash, right? Same is the case. Shell program is executing this command. The point to make a note here is, let's say you are going to create some test job tomorrow. It's not that Jenkins is testing. At the back end, it is a Selenium automation tool which is executing the test case, or test cases are written in Selenium tool. Selenium is the one which is testing. Right? Got the point, everyone? So these are the things you should understand. Where the job is running and how this particular job is executed. Which tool or which program are being used at the backend. Jenkins doesn't do anything. It's an orchestrator. That's all. Now that we have got one job, let me create one more job. I'm creating another job to understand the things in more detail. Okay, there were so many sections. I'm going to build steps. Again, execute shell. And here I want to run, like, let's suppose I want to execute some Linux command, date command. Also, I would like to store this date command into TMP folder as date.txt. Where will be this file created, on which server? Obviously on the same Jenkins server, right? Under TMP, we should have a file called date.txt. Do we have it? No. Right? So this Jenkins will create. This is another proof showing you that it's executing on this server. Let me build it. Date is a Linux command which will show the current date of the server. So build successful. It says it executed and it is successful. Let's see the output. Is the date file created? Yes. Do you see? And this is the content of the date file, current date of the server. That's a new TC, right? Got it clear, everyone? Is that making sense?
Yes, yes.
So I'm building it for the second time. It should append to it. Right? 3233 and so on. The time in UTC. Right? So that's how you can create multiple jobs. Of course, these are very simple jobs, but yeah, you can consider, you can imagine them like, let's say this is a build job. Okay, this is test job or deploy job, whatever. You can create jobs, you can connect them and form the pipeline. Like we use shell program at the back end, we'll be using Maven tool at the back end, we'll be using Docker at the back end, and so on. Will create the entire pipeline. This is just some brief intro about what a job is. Got it right, everyone? Any questions?
Madam, are you going to take any real business scenario and going to show end-to-end, please?
We are going to do.
Okay.
But without this, we can't go straight into it, right?
Yes. Thank you.
So these are the jobs. Like this is the concept of job. And like I said, before creating the pipeline, there are many other things one should know to create a real pipeline. So the next thing is about the access and permissions, right? Like say I logged as an admin user. You might be having a DevOps team. There were, let's say, 6 people or whatever. So how do you access or how do you restrict the permissions? How does that user access, user management happens, isn't it? So let us look into that. There is something called manage Jenkins. All the administrative task goes here. Because so many plugins were not installed, it was showing let it be for now. And yeah, go to security. Security means secure Jenkins. Define who is allowed to use or access the system. Here, this will help you understand who is going to use what or who is going to access what, right? So let's go to security. Right here, you can see if you scroll down authorization. This is the one we are going to look into. There were different authorization strategies, means who can access what in Jenkins. As of now, logged in users can do anything. Means if you have this URL and the credentials, you can do anything. But that's not the best practice in reality, right? Every user should have his own permissions. If I want to choose this matrix-based authorization strategy, right? This is really helpful, but this needs few users. So let's create some users first. As of now, I have only admin user. Now, let me create some users. See here you have users option. It will show you create, delete, modify users that can log into Jenkins. This is Jenkins application users. So there is admin user. Let me create some user. Let's say user 1. Password is also user 1. Confirm the password. Full name. Some email ID. Okay. So user 1 is created. Let me create another user as well. User 2.
These users are specific to this Jenkins, right? It is not related to the OS where we create user of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So these users what we are creating, it is specific to this Jenkins, right? We are not this is backend. It is not creating.
This is just application users. Okay. These are not system users. Means you can't log in with these users from here. Okay. This is just application user. Okay. Yeah. So I created few users. Now again, go back to manage Jenkins.
If you install this Jenkins in different instance, can this users be still used?
I'm creating these users, right? Yes, they'll be stored in Jenkins' own user database, local user database of Jenkins, which is in the file format. In whichever Jenkins you create this way, they'll be in that Jenkins. Those are not any system users.
Okay, so this means they're not based on the instance. So if I change the instance tomorrow,
correct,
instead of this Linux, this instance, if I install the Jenkins in some other instance, some other EC2 instance, then I can still use these users in that one.
You have to create them there again. In one server, if you create users, how come they appear in another server when you install Jenkins? You have to create them, right?
Okay.
Manage Jenkins security. See, Jenkins own user data means Jenkins local user database, which is in the file format. It is stored here. So if you are reinstalling Jenkins some other server, how come these users will come into that server? We have to recreate them. Now come to authorization. Let's go with matrix-based security, matrix-based authorization strategy. What is the strategy? Let's see. Here you can add users. First, let me add admin user. And I would like to give this user all the permissions. So done. And then let's say user one. User one is added, but I don't want to make him admin. But first overall read should be there. See, these are all the permissions. You don't need to worry about what is each permission. How do I know? How do I remember? You don't need to memorize anything. Here you keep the cursor. It explains you what is meant by read. Read permission is necessary for viewing almost all Jenkins pages. First of all, they should see the page, right? So I'm giving overall read, not administer, only read. And job read. Here I'm just giving the minimum permissions. Job read means job page you can see, right? I'm giving here job read for user one. Okay, similarly, let me add another user, user two. User 2 also overall read, but on job, let's say this user 2 is a senior person. Okay, a lead. He may have all the permissions, right, on the job. Or on juniors may be given only the read permissions, only they can see. Correct? Am I making sense? So that's how you can give different permissions. User 1 is having only read permissions, assuming he's a junior or fresher to the project. User 2 is a senior person. I have given all. Let's see how they work. Save it. Because now I logged as an admin, I can say everything, I can do anything. And some of you are asking, can you see it's running on this master node? This is where you see building in the workspace. This indicates it's running on the Jenkins system, same server. In detail, you will see when you have remote servers. We'll look into that also. Hope that answers your question, Avinash. Now let me log out. Log in as user one. Password is user one. Okay. Now, user one can see this, but he doesn't see manage option. Do you see? Manage is like administrative task. And when he go to the job, see, he doesn't see build option. Only he can check the console output. He can't run the job. He can't change the job. He can't do anything. Only he can visualize the job. That's all. Right? Let us check for user 2. 3 users we are having. User 1, user 2, admin user. If you log in as user 2, see, user 2 can have build permissions, configure. Configure means edit the job, rename the job, delete the job, build everything user 2 has got. But of course, manage Jenkins, other options he doesn't have. But for job, he has all the permissions. Got the difference, everyone?
Yes.
Appreciate your quick responses.
Yes.
Right? This is called matrix-based authorization strategy. This is one of the strategies implemented in the projects. Like this is job, and let's say user 1, user 2. Let's say job 1, job 2. User 1 has got all permissions on all the jobs. Sorry, user 2 has got all permissions, right? The user 1 has got only read permissions, isn't it? Only he can view read permissions. So if you want to assign this kind of permissions, depending on their experience or expert, which strategy to use depends. So if in the project, if they want to assign the jobs or give permissions depending on their experience, this is how they can. Like user 1 is a junior, so he was given all the read permissions. User 2 is senior, he has got all permissions for all the jobs. This is called matrix-based authorization strategy. There is one more authorization strategy called project-based authorization strategy. Let me show you this. Project-based authorization strategy. These strategies are important. Okay, when you create pipelines, having permissions are also important. One person in the team may be given admin permission so that he will handle all of this. User 1, user 2, job 1, job 2. Earlier we have seen matrix based. This is project based, means job based. See, he might be user 1, might be a fresher, but he was from development background. He was a DevOps person, but he has got some development background, or else he has got good skills managing the compile jobs, build jobs. So he might be given all permissions for job 1. Let's say job 1 is a compile job or build job. Job 2 might be a test job or deploy job. He might be having read permissions. Sorry, for the same build, other user may have only read. And let's suppose job 2 is a deploy job. User 1 has got only read permissions. User 2 has got all permissions. Means in matrix base, a particular user is having same permissions across all the jobs. Here in project base, a particular user is having different permissions across different jobs depending on his experience or expertise. So these are the different strategies. Which strategy to pick up depends on the design of the pipeline, their team, and so on. This is another strategy. Got the difference between the two strategies? We have done hands-on on matrix base. We shall go with project base now. Shall we proceed? Good to go?
Yeah.
Yeah.
One question.
Let's.
Initially we start with the matrix based, and later on, if my team size grows or my requirements change, can I switch to project based?
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
that's what we are switching now, right? See, for admin only, they have managed Jenkins option, if you notice, right? So come here. Security
In real
again.
organization, can we add Active Directory here?
In real organization?
In real based scenario, so can we add Active Directory group, security group?
Can we add?
Security groups, Active Directory security groups.
Yeah, you can. I'll come to that part. Give me a second. Okay. So matrix based we were using till now. There is another option called project based matrix authorization strategy. Okay. This is what we were talking about. Let's add admin. Let me add this user 1. Let's add user 2 also. Okay. Now for admin, I would like to give all permissions. And for user 1, overall read should be given. And this user 1 and user 2, here I'll be giving only global permissions, minimum permissions. Everyone should have read. So I'm just giving read. Then where do you specify the actual permissions? Those permissions will be giving under each job. Okay, we'll go for it. Before going to that, let me show you one more thing. Till now, we were using just Jenkins' own user database because we don't have separate user database. Right? Organizations may have their own database, right? They may have their own Active Directory, LDAPs and all, where they'll put all their user data, user user logins, right? So this is what we are using as of now. But you can also have LDAP, Active Directory options here. You are not seeing this option means you have to install the plugin. So once you install the respective plugin, you will see those options. Like we learned, right, in the beginning, plugins will extend or enhance. This is what. If you need any functionality in Jenkins, you can install a plugin. I don't know how many of you noticed. In the beginning, when it is installing a plugin, do you see LDAP there? Right? That's another way to integrate it with a user database. But that doesn't successful. That's not successful. It's not installed, so it was showing. No problem. You can install later. How to install plugins, I'll show you again separately. Okay, but yeah, you can integrate with any other database where you have all your users. Okay, that's the authentication part. We were talking about authorization strategies. Authentication is who can log in. Authorization is once they log in, what they can access. Okay, so 2 users were created with the read permissions. Now, you should handle the other permissions in each job. Configure job 1 means edit the job. if you scroll down, sorry, in the beginning, in the general section, there is something like enable project-based security. Okay, here you should add the user. See, if you have integrated with LDAP or Active Directory, you don't need to add the users individually like this. You can add them groups. You can connect it with the Linux user group also. Then you can add them in the group rather than adding this way. Anyway, so I have added user one, admin all permissions. User one, let's say, should have only read on this job, whereas user two should have all permissions on job one. Okay, given all of them, save it. Let's go to job two as well. Configure. Here you could choose add groups if you have those groups integrated. As we don't have that, I'm adding them manually one by one. User one. User two. Okay, admin I'm giving all. Now user one should have all permissions on it. Like build, cancel, configure, delete. You keep the cursor, it shows what permissions each means. Okay. And user two only read. Okay. Now let us save it. And let us log out as admin, log in as user one, and see what happens. So he has got both the jobs. If he goes to job one, he doesn't have any permissions. The same user, if he go to job two, he has got all permissions. This is what is project-based authorization strategy. Got it, everyone? Interesting, isn't it? These are helpful in real practice to manage, like to restrict the permissions. Right? Let us also log in as user two. He should have all permissions on job one, isn't it? See, he has all permissions on job one, but he doesn't have anything, only view on job two. Right? So this is what is matrix-based and project-based authorization strategy. Which strategy to be used depends on the project they're designing, the pipeline, the resources they have, and so on. Above all this, there is one more strategy which is more widely used in reality, which is called role-based access control strategy, RBAC strategy. Role-based access control, right? Means depending on the role, you will assign a role like developer, tester, DevOps person, and so on. Depending on the role, you can assign the permissions to the jobs. This is the one which is used in real projects. Even we use this methodology or this strategy. Okay, we will look into this. Before I go, any questions?
So are we also going to install agents?
Are we also going to install?
Agents, I mean Jenkins agents like slaves.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, come here. Yeah, security. Till now we have learned matrix-based, project-based, logged in users we have discussed. Anyone can do anything means anyone with this URL can do anything, which doesn't work in reality. But where is the RBAC? I'm not seeing that option. Meaning you have to install a plugin called RBAC. Like if you just go to dashboard, all the plugins comes under here. Now I'm showing you installing plugins. Again, under the same manage Jenkins, you will see something like plugins. Add, remove, disable or enable the plugins that can extend the functionality of Jenkins. Updates means any updates for installed plugins. Available means there were thousands of plugins available. You can search them here. Install means whatever already installed. Some of them failed, right? It was showing this way. And if you want, you can uninstall any plugin. See here, uninstall. So let's go for available. You don't need to learn all the thousands of plugins available. You have to search here, that's all. I want something for role-based. See, this is the one. Role-based authorization strategy. Okay. If you want to read, understand about it, there is a documentation for each plugin. It says role-based strategy plugin is meant to be used for Jenkins to add a new role-based mechanism. How to add it? See, when you install, you will see this option under authorization, which is missing earlier. Then how to use it, some examples, everything was there, which is good. So let us install this. This enables user authorization using role-based strategy. Install it. See, so many plugins failed. It was showing that. See, LDAP also failed. That's why we are not seeing it. Anyway, role-based was successful. As it is successful, we can go here again to the security. Now here, I should see it. Yes, do you see that? So how to use it and the hands-on, we shall take up this tomorrow. Right? Any questions in this part
Yeah,
from anyone?
when we say role-based, are we assigning a role to each and individual user here?
Yes. We'll create the roles and assign them to users.
Okay.
Any questions in the topics covered? Do the hands-on, okay? Set up your Jenkins and set the hands-on. It will be very simple if you do hands-on daily. Okay, go to these are the basics as it's a day one of Jenkins. Okay, we'll be doing everything including master slave concept, pipeline as a code concept, many other things, okay? Which some of you are asking about, where are we covering this and all. Yes, all of those, whichever you asked, are being covered. So get your hands on, begin, like get tuned to the class, like get on same pace with the class. So do the hands on regularly so that you'll be ready for the session tomorrow. We'll be proceeding into the advanced concepts from the next day. We'll see the build triggers, we'll see the integration of Docker, Terraform. Of course, those we'll do once we start those tools. But yeah, we will be also creating real jobs on multiple projects. Okay, this is our sample one. We'll be creating on some code base available on multiple projects as well. So stay relaxed and concentrate on your hands-on learning. Any more questions from anyone else? And I believe there were some questions in the WhatsApp group yesterday regarding the Git hands-on. Were those issues resolved? I think it was Chandan. Chandan, are you there?
Yes, ma'am. It's done. It was not Git. It was on for
Yeah,
the
Linux.
Yeah.
See, actually, you are trying to check the folder or a file which is not in the particular location. You have created it in some other location, right?
Yeah. I
So,
got the problem. Yeah.
yeah, ls minus l will do, or else if you want to know the like the permissions, ls minus l and the absolute path of the file, like whatever, wherever it is present. But
Right.
yeah, that is definitely this happens. That's good. That's how you learn. Don't expect the hands-on to be smooth. Always this would be there'll be challenges, there'll be issues. That's what is hands-on for. That's how you learn. Any other questions from anyone else on the previous topics or?
Hi, Preeti. Mohammed here.
Hi.
Preeti, on this thing, on the Jenkins part, you said that right now we are installing Jenkins on the existing server where the application is hosted.
No, where application is not hosted. This is just an EC2 instance we have created for Linux hands-on.
Okay.
Oh, you mean Jenkins server where Jenkins is running, the server where Jenkins is running.
Correct. In the real-time scenario, will it be on the same server or
it will be on remote
different
server? We will do that also. That's what is distributed builds in Jenkins, master slave concept. We will do those.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you.
See, we are installing Jenkins on this EC2 instance. Your jobs would be running on remote servers, or else your job may be running on some Kubernetes cluster. Your job may be on a Docker container. All of those scenarios we'll see. Okay, this is a begin, this is a start, that's all.
Okay.
There were multiple pipelines which we are going to build. By learning Docker, we'll come and integrate Docker. By learning Kubernetes, we'll add it, and so on. So stay relaxed and stay tuned with the sessions. And please be regular, okay? Don't skip the sessions or don't miss the sessions unless, of course, there is any other emergency. Try to make available for the sessions. Okay, also, I already mentioned this. I'm showing again. Once done with your hands-on, make sure to close it. Okay. I mean, stop your instance. Don't just leave it running. So that is all from my end for today. Any other questions or can we wind up here?
Preeti, Mohan this side. Actually, just one request from my side. Actually, it's totally 1.5 an hour class. So, if it would be possible, can you please give us a 5 minutes break between that so that
Like, see, today a break comes automatically, Mohan. We don't need to take a break because let me tell you, today we got some pause there. We went for the questionnaire. Tomorrow, like as we go with the hands-on, definitely this happens. We don't need a separate break, but I'm asking for the questions at regular intervals. Like if you have any questions, I'm stopping at certain point and do that. But would consider your request also and we'll see.
Okay, thanks.
Break for questionnaire or for any other reason? You want to
No,
have
so that just it will be for just replacement purpose.
okay. All right.
Yeah.